Voting season is here, and we need to pay attention because your decision really affects what's happening. You see the gas prices, you see the food prices, you see the shopping prices. If you don't like what you see, you need to go out there and go make a change. The problem is, a lot of us don't know who is who and what position is what position, and how many people actually go down the actual ballot and say, I'm going to look up each candidate. Now, you may go for the bigger races such as the governor or the president or maybe a state senator, but are you actually saying who is the public service commissioner? Who's the state school superintendent? Who is the labor commissioner? Are you actually doing this? Your county commissioner. So we may not know what the role of each one of those jobs is, but Miss Levonne and I had a conversation earlier this week because we are voters and we like to piggyback our brains back and forth, and we like to discuss where our thoughts are. Who are you looking at? Who are you not looking at? What do you think here? What do you not think there? And then she called me back and said, hold up, I may have found the secret sauce. And I'm going to let her break it down and tell us what she created and tell us a little bit about what you got going on over here. Let us know.
So I am a big user of AI. It's basically getting you a smart digital assistant that learns patterns and helps you process information, right? That's what AI is here for. So I was like, well, how can I leverage the power of AI to help me with these 20-something positions that are open on this ballot? Because I don't know these people. Only a certain amount of them been sent me a flyer. Only one person that came to my house, or at least they sent somebody to my house on their behalf. And so I was like, I need some help. So I started in with having a conversation with my GPT, and we went down the list through all of the different races and talked through. I told her, hey, this is my values. This is what I think about economics, about abortion, about gun laws. Like, I told it all of these things that are important to me. Of course, I care about education. That's my background as well, right? I would even ask me about LGBT rights, right? Like, I gave it all this information, and then it created a voter profile for me. And then we discussed every single race. And in the midst of this, I had that conversation with Tall Boy, told him about it. And then I was like, man, I think other people probably need this too. So I created a custom GPT called Ballot Bestie that will help you do the same thing.
Okay, so Ballot Bestie. Now, I'm a fan of Gemini. Some people use ChatGPT. Some people use Claude. Some people use Perplexity, or they may use something else. This is designed for ChatGPT. Is that correct? Or can you do this in any one of the LLMs? Let us know, how does all of that work? Break it down, simplify it, tell people what Ballot Bestie is and how this all works.
So my particular GPT is only on ChatGPT. However, whatever AI assistant that you use, be it Perplexity or Gemini, that one would already kind of know you, so you could have that same conversation with it. However, with this being a customized GPT, I've actually already trained it and put some instructions in it. I told it not to hallucinate. I told it not to be partisan, right? I told it to look up and cite sources for you so that it's not giving you incorrect information, because I know people have those types of fears about using AI. Is it going to be biased? I'm telling it, I wrote these instructions in the back end on this particular GPT, and I tried out the model for different states. My sister lives in Texas. I tried it out for Texas. My mom lives in Florida, had her trying it out for Florida. And then I just picked Idaho, right? Just on the random. And I uploaded an Idaho ballot and tried that ballot as well to make sure that it will, no matter who you are, Republican, Democrat, Independent, hey, even I don't trust politicians at all.
We're going to go through it. And before we do that, we do have a poll question today. Look in the YouTube chat. If you're watching on YouTube, come on over here. If you're not, come over to YouTube. We got a YouTube poll question. And the poll question that we have today is, have you voted yet in your local election? One, yes, I'm team early voting. Two, I'm waiting for election day. Three, I have no idea where to start. Or four, don't judge me, I'm not voting. One through four, let us know in the YouTube poll how and what you think, and we'll go from there. All right, and we'll tell you how you can get this Ballot Bestie guide momentarily, but we're going to talk about how you did it. So right now on the screen, you and this Ballot Bestie, this is your prompt, or is this the GPT? Like, what is this?
So what we're looking at right now is the GPT from the computer version. So when you first come into it, you will see those 4 prompts there that you could click on, or you can do what I did, which is in the bottom. I filled it out in particular, so you can see I started putting my actual voter values. So even if you don't start it with the voter values, you could just say, hey, I live in such and such a county in this state, help me. The GPT will then ask you to tell you what your values are so that it can help you decide.
Okay. So now, once you do that, and after you create all of that, and I'm only going off of the images that you have, I don't know if this is the right one that I'm supposed to put up on the screen, but is this the right one?
No, this is another prompt that you can give it. I'm a Georgia voter researching state school board superintendent. Help, please. Like, cause sometimes, look, help. That's that 4-letter word. And so from here, you can see that it tells you who is on that ballot here in Georgia. And then if we were to scroll down, we would see that it gave you 5 probing questions to find out more so that it can end up, it won't necessarily match you with the candidate. It will give you information about each of the candidates. And as you continue the conversation with the GPT, you will come to figure out who you think you're most well aligned with, and then you can walk away knowing who you want to vote for. So it does not tell you who to vote for.
Okay, so you put in your questions, and then after it gives you this voter profile, and then after that, you're putting in each race. You're putting in each race, and then you'll say, "Hey, Secretary of State," and then based off of your voter profile, it'll align with what you said is good or bad. Is that correct?
Yes, it will actually create a table for you to compare the candidates against your values.
Okay. I don't know if this is the
So
right
it
take.
will, if there are 3 people in that race, it will spit out a table. Hey, this is where it aligns with you based on your thoughts about the importance of education, or maybe their platform didn't say that they explicitly care about education. It will tell you that too. Hey, this is where they've stood out about this on whatever those different values are that you talked about.
Now, will it look as good as this that I see on the screen? Is it going to look as good as that, or you did this extra?
I knew that people were visual learners. So I want you to see that what they're giving you is a table, right? This is a table, and I just made it pretty and colorful for you all, right? But it's gonna give you this type of table so you can see on the left side, it summarized my voter values, and then now it gives their stats and how a check mark if that is something that aligns with something that I said was important to me. So you
Okay.
can see on this particular race, Nabila Parks and Josh McLaurin were pretty neck and neck. They both had all check marks that they would be good candidates based on my personal voter values. And, at the time I said, okay, and I don't remember the reason why, but it's down there that I said I was going to go ahead and vote for Josh McLaurin.
Here's another one here, and can you kind of tell us how does this work here?
Yeah, so this one is for the Georgia governor race. We know this is a big one, right? And so there's definitely more than just the 3 candidates, but when I made this, I had it to do it for my top 3 candidates, like, because we easily eliminated some of the other candidates based on value system, right? My value system. So I said, hey, let's talk about this governor race based on my values. I asked her to tell me if they had been embroiled in any scandals, right? Of course, for me, That is important. Maybe if they've been in a scandal or been alleged of a scandal, that may not be important to you. So you tell that to your ballot bestie that, hey, I don't care if they've been accused of a scandal. I care if they got the work done, right? So you tell, again, you tell it, and you only have to tell it your voter values one time. It's going to evaluate all of the candidates based off your voter values one time, unless there's something specific for that particular race that you may not have answered before, and then it will prompt it for you to have that discussion with it.
You got a question here. Let's see if I can get that on the screen. How is this different from reading the materials candidates send you to read?
Oh, that's a great question. So in my case, many of the candidates did not send me any information to read, right? Having nothing to read versus having something to read at all. And think about it like this. If we were going to go on Google, and where Google is our library, now we just got dropped off in the library, and now it is on us to go read every single book, every single mailer. And so let's assume you got a mailer from every single candidate for all 20 positions, and there are 5 people in all of those positions, 3 to 5 people. Do you have the time to expend to read all of those materials, or can you get an assistant that's free to read the materials for you and then put the materials into a table? So you don't want to just be dumped off in the library and be like, good luck, God bless. This ballot bestie is your research librarian to sit next to you and sort through those materials.
Okay, and I guess this is another one. This is for Georgia State School Superintendent. So this is really primarily based on Georgia, but the election season is here, and each city, each county, each state has something that's different. And with them having something different, you could use this ballot bestie that you created. And what would they have to do? Just upload their their sample ballot, or do they need to take screenshots?
Absolutely.
How do they actually do this? That's the part that a lot of people are going to probably say, walk me, baby step me through this. How do they actually do that?
So once you're into Ballot Bestie and you've given it its your values, it actually is going to provide, if you're here in Georgia, it's going to provide you with the link and tell you how to log into the sos.gov system to get your voter downloaded to your device, which that it could be a phone or a laptop, and then upload it right into that GPT. You'll see a little plus sign to add a file. It can be a screenshot or it can be the PDF. It doesn't matter which one. Or if you want to long press and get all the text and put the text in there, you can do it that way. So you have options on how you want to put your ballot in there. And again, this doesn't have to be for the state of Georgia. I tried it with Idaho's ballot because they also have an election on May 19th. My mom's ballot wasn't available yet because they don't vote until August. So there are a few states that we're voting right now in May.
Revis, you got any thoughts? He over there raising his hand.
Of course. Let's get somebody posed the question: is how is this different from the flyers that they send you? Now, I'm going to say this here: if I was running for any particular office and I sent you a flyer, of course, I'm going to tell you all of the good things about me. Now, Chat GPT and Gemini and Perplexity will they tell you all of the bad things also if you ask them that?
Absolutely. That's a great question. Absolutely. And for me, listen, there was I don't know, should we call names? There was a candidate on one of the races. Her name is Sharon Henderson. And it was like, hey, she has been accused of some things from the pandemic. I was like, oh, I mean, it didn't say PPP loan, but it was giving. Maybe she had a PPP loan fraud. But point is, she was under investigation. Listen, that didn't sit well for me personally. Again, other people may not care about that. So absolutely, it will tell you if they have been embroiled in controversy.
Now look,
See, that makes a big difference.
Shirley P say California has an AI tool called Cala. after an interactive quiz to match your personal stances on state issues. Plus, there's others called I Side with California gubernatorial quiz. So apparently they have something going on out there in California. I think the biggest thing that we wanted to do for this is the election is here in Georgia on Tuesday, May 19th, I believe that's the actual date. And there's no excuse for you not to get out there and go vote. And then we're also providing you resources and tools to say, hey, not everybody's going to have time to go to a website. Not everybody's going to have time to go to the Instagram page or the Facebook page. I may not even know what this race is because I'm probably only focused or care about one candidate. But you guys heard me speak on the PSC, Public Service Commissioner, and that's the person who handles your electricity rates. You need to know who your public service commissioner, if your electricity bill has been going up, you need to know who that PSC person is, but you may not have known that. The school superintendent, the lieutenant governor. Will it tell you what each role does, Levonne, when you put in the ballot, hey, this is the role of the actual position and these are the candidates, or does it only just give you the candidates once you click on that actual link? How does that work?
That's another excellent question. It absolutely gives you an overview of each of the positions and what they do and why it's important to your daily life. Right. And so, my GPT is a little bit hood. So, he talked to me like we way back friends that grew up together. So, but my GPT absolutely will tell you, hey, this is the lieutenant governor position. The lieutenant governor is in charge of doing that, and it'll give you a few bullet points. If you wanted to expound before you get into the conversation, you can also ask it to tell you more, right? But then you'll go into the conversation about that particular race.
Okay. That's good because now you're being educated, shall we say, when it comes to you're being educated when it comes to knowing what each one of these candidates are. I hope I'm saying that right, because now not necessarily the candidates, but the role of the position of what each person does.
Because I'll tell you the truth, I didn't know, because Georgia has positions that exist that we didn't have in Kansas. Like I had never heard of a CEO of a county, right? Like we didn't have that in Kansas. So like when I was living in DeKalb County, I was like, what is a DeKalb County CEO? What does that even do? Right? Like, and look, we don't, and as a fourth grade social studies teacher, second grade social studies teacher, teaching Georgia studies, I teach mayor, I teach governor, right? I'm like, what is a CEO?
Okay. Reeves, got any other questions? Audience, do you guys have questions for Levonne?
This is very interesting to me because, one, I'm one of those ones that I really don't vote. And to know that I can actually go and prompt Gemini, because that's what I use. I can go prompt Gemini and ask it certain questions about certain people that it will give me a straight answer. I like the fact that you're talking about it right now because there's going to be a lot of people that's going to see this show and they're going to, they're going to be interested. They're going to vote and they now know that they can actually prompt their GPT and know that it'll tell them and give them a straightforward synopsis of each person so they won't vote for the wrong one. You're right, tall boy. A lot of people go eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and that's what they do. Me, I always identified as an independent. It didn't matter if you were Republican. It didn't matter if you were Democrat. I voted for who I felt was best for the job and who I felt best would represent me.
Real quickly, she says, excellent tool you created for Georgia, but you said this is not just for Georgia. This is for anybody. Anybody can use this
That's
GPT.
Correct. It's for all the states.
I didn't want to tell you guys in the beginning because you guys would have went straight to it without hearing the information. But if you look in the link of the chat, and I also have it in the link of the description if you are checking this out on the replay, so you can see it, you can play with it. And as you're taking the time this weekend or you're taking the time this week, maybe you have a few minutes out of your day, and you can say, you know what, let me see if this is right. Now, I think a lot of people are worried about AI taking over and saying that it hallucinates and it's not factual. And what if they give you some wrong information? You put in the prompt to double check what was like, and I'm not telling you to give us the actual full prompt, but what were some of the things that you put in the prompt to make sure that it double checked its work?
Yeah, so I had to redo these instructions multiple times, and you have to keep your instructions under 8,000 characters. So you also have to be concise. So I tried it out multiple times. So to make sure, like I even tried this, I said, I'm a white conservative man. Can you help me out? So it's okay, whatever you identify as, if that's independent or whatever it is, it is there. So I put it in there that it needs to be nonpartisan, has to be impartial. So like I put these buzzwords in here so that the GPT itself knows that it cannot lean a certain way for you, because I know that's another concern that many people have with AI. Well, what if the people get into the AIs and are paying the AIs to lean a certain way? I have already put this in the instructions that we are not showing favoritism anywhere.
That's
And
what's up.
also something else that I learned through like just being as an adult in Georgia's system, if you are registered as a nonpartisan or independent voter, you do not get all of the elections. So even if you don't want to be necessarily affiliated as a Republican or a Democrat, there are questions that are being asked about taxes. If you don't, about how do you think it's ethical for billionaires who have, or people who are rich that have, or politicians who have benefited from money to be able to get richer? Do you think this is ethical? Yes or no? If you are on that nonpartisan ballot, you do not get asked that question. There's another question about, do you want taxes to be raised in Georgia this year? If you are using the nonpartisan ballot, you will not get asked that question. It will only give you questions for the major races. So even if you don't identify as a Republican, if you want to see who their candidates are and vote for those candidates, you have to select to be either a Republican or Democrat so you can see all the questions. And in these primaries, you can only vote for the Democratic side or the Republican side. You can't do both. But when you get to November and it's the Republican nominee versus the Democratic nominee, you can do this all over again, because maybe you decide, hey, I generally go with Democrats, but I think I like this Republican candidate better. You can do that in November, but not in the primaries.
So the biases is definitely a concern that they have. And then the more we are aware of who holds the power, the better we are informed. And that was the whole purpose. Once again, we're always talking about how can we use technology? How can we leverage technology when it comes to the Lab Tech Show? And I think the biggest thing that we have here is this is somebody that's in our community, that's in our neighborhood. I'm not saying she's a regular Joe Blow, but she's not like a big tech company that's out there saying, I created this and for $9.99, this is what it is. You know, she's saying, hey, I'm having these same issues that you're having. Make that decision. Do your research. And when you say do your research, most people don't know what doing your research is all about. We never told you who to vote for. We never told you should lean this way. We never said you should lean that way. That's your personal preference. We're just saying just get out there to go vote, and your vote does count. It does matter. And we found a way to say, hey, we talk about all the things that AI is doing negatively. How about we find a way to use it positively? And if we can find a way to use it positively, then you saying that it has these biases, you're saying that it hallucinates. Well, the more we feed it, the more we give it and say, this is what we want, we're starting to train it ourselves, because they want to train it their way, but it's still, we're still putting our efforts into the AI and saying, this is what we want. When AI first started, there was not a lot of African-American representation. There was not a lot of African-American voices. There was not a lot of African-American characters that we were able to use. Look at where AI is today, where you just saw Revis on the screen And that was his AI. I'm not gonna call it his clone, but that was a digital form of himself. But that was not available 2 years ago. What Levonne has done today, or what she has done or shown in this project here, is, hey, I care. I want this to be inclusive for everybody. There's no discrimination. And I wanted to make sure that it speaks to me in a language that I can understand. So she probably put a few words in there that, like she said, to talk a little hood for you, if that makes sense. So, but that's what she did. But that's giving it and feeding it the language that we speak. So the more we use it, the more we use these tools, the better off that we are. And I can't thank you enough, Levonne, for doing this. And for anyone that has not gotten out there to go vote, whether it's Georgia or any other state, it's your responsibility. Don't be on the outside looking in saying, I wish I would have voted. Or if you didn't vote and you don't like what's going on, you can't complain. So, I mean, at the end of the day, you can't say that answers have not been given to you. The cheat sheet has not been given to you. We're finding creative ways for you to get out there to vote, whether it's early voting, the day of, but at least you know who you want to vote for. Now, one quick thing, and I'll shut up. You cannot take your phone inside of the ballot box. So you're going to have to write down your answers on a piece of paper. They're going to tell you, do not take your phone in the ballot box. They're going to tell you. So before you go in the door, that's all I'm going to say. Before you go in the door, get you a piece of paper and do it the old school way and write down each one of these candidates that she gave you. Or you put it in
print out your ballot.
Yeah. Well, everybody ain't got no printer, Levonne. Let's just call it what it is. Everybody ain't got no printer. But you get you a piece of paper, go get you a pen or a piece of paper, and write it on the back of an envelope that you got in your car or that you got laying around the house, and write down each one of the names. Just do what you got to do. And then that way you going in there, you use the technology, but then you still did it the old school way. They didn't say you can't use your phone. Because you can't be saying, well, the girl told me I could use her bestie ballot box. We not doing that. So I'm making sure I put the disclaimer out there to write it down and make sure that you good once you get your answers. And now, like I said, it's not going to look as pretty as this here. Now, how can they get it to look as attractive as your ballot box that you got on the screen over here like this? How they get it like that?
So before we do that, hold on. I'm gonna hold something up because I agree with what you were saying. Listen, as I was having my conversation with the GPT, I was sure enough writing it down just like this on a bank envelope, right? Just going through it.
I told you. I told you, get you an envelope, get you one. Listen, I'm trying to tell you something.
But look, I was doing this while I was driving because look, let me tell you something. This does take some time to have the conversation. So I did this over 2 days, having the conversations with the AI. So yeah, this is not something that you can go do right outside. You do still need to take, like they said, do your research. Research takes time. So you do need to set aside a block of time. But guess what? You can do that time while you're driving in the car because you can talk into the AI and then come back and write it all down. Or guess what? You can say, hey, all right, this is the person I'm going to vote for this one. Let's go to the next race. Once you get finished, hey, give me a list of everybody I said I wanted to vote for. Now, to your question, how do we make it look pretty? After you figure out who you're going to vote for, I just gave it another prompt and said, hey, can you make a flyer image to match the conversation that we just had, creating a colorful table? And I've made several of them. So like when I told it what kind of, I didn't have to use very many words to get this output. So if there's certain colors that you want, I had to feed it a picture of myself, and then you can see that's not totally me, but it's pretty close to the picture that I fed it. It's pretty close, but I fed it a picture of me, and then it tried to pull. You can see that these aren't really, that's not Keisha, that's not Michael, that's not Jason. It just gave the clone, it gave a representation of those people, because if you really wanted it to look like those people, you would need to feed your GPT pictures of all of those people, and I didn't really have time for that because it doesn't matter what they look like.
There it is. Reeves, any other questions before we move on?
Well, I just like the fact that all you have to do is prompt this thing and it will do exactly what you want. I appreciate Levonne coming on here and telling us about this. And I appreciate the fact that she is talking about how you prompt this. The thing with AI, and when you talk to these chat GPTs and Gemini and everything else, you need to be specific. You tell it exactly what you're looking for, and it does exactly what you want it to do. But make sure that you do additional research to make sure that you know exactly what you're reading. So if it tells you that Tall Boy does the lab tech show, you don't know if he really does the lab tech show. You want to go to another source and find out if he does the lab tech show. Just make sure that you cover your tracks so you make the right decisions.
Absolutely. And my GPT shows you the links after it finishes talking. It shows you where it pulled its sources from. Click on those links and make sure that they're real. Like it's like this would be like you would just be on Google. Like, how many times have you been on Google? Give me a recipe for such and such. And then you had to click on multiple links to find the best recipe of that thing. Well, it's taking some of the work out of this for you, right? You at least now have a link to start with to see, is this link real? And the more you use your AI assistant, the better it will be. Of course, it still makes mistakes. It's new. You are human and you still make mistakes. Well, of course, this thing is like, we can't expect anything in this life to be flawless.
Go, 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 go. Go, go, go.
There you go. It's the Lab Tech Show. Join us Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern at thelabtechshow.com. Embrace it or get left behind.
Alrighty then.